Hello there, fellow global citizens. Tonight, we delve into the wild, wacky world of international trade. Buckle up as we unpack how former President Trump's tariff tantrum inadvertently nudged the European Union towards becoming a free trade champion. Remember the trade war? Trump slapped tariffs on goods from China, Mexico, the European Union, and others. He claimed it was to protect American jobs, but like a toddler throwing spaghetti at a wall, it created a big mess. These tariffs disrupted global supply chains and increased prices for everyone. It was like trying to eat your favorite meal, but everything was suddenly more expensive and covered in tariffs. Not ideal. This protectionist approach had unexpected consequences. It pushed the European Union to embrace free trade more openly. Who could have predicted that? Well, probably a lot of people, but still. Now, the European Union hasn't always been a poster child for unfettered trade. They have their share of protectionist tendencies. But Trump's tariffs acted like a strong cup of coffee on a Monday morning. They jolted the European Union awake. See, the European Union realized that relying too heavily on one grumpy trading partner was risky business. They needed to diversify. They needed new friends. They needed free trade agreements. This realization wasn't just some idealistic whim, it was a pragmatic response to a changing global landscape. Trump's actions made it clear that the United States was no longer a reliable trade partner. The European Union saw an opportunity to position itself as a champion of free trade, a beacon of stability in a world increasingly defined by uncertainty. And boy, did they seize it. Now let's zoom out for a sec. Global trade is kind of a big deal. It's how countries share goods and services. Think of it as a massive potluck where everyone brings their specialty dish. Except instead of potato salad and questionable casseroles, it's cars, computers, and coffee. Trump's tariffs were like showing up to this potluck and kicking over the dessert table. It messed everything up and left everyone hungry for a more predictable system. The European Union recognized this hunger and saw an opportunity to become the host with the most. By advocating for free trade and striking deals with other countries, they could ensure a more stable and prosperous global economy. Plus, they'd get to try all the best dishes at the potluck. Win-win! So, what have the European Union been up to since Trump's trade tirade? They've been busy bees, let me tell you. They've been striking trade deals left and right like a skilled blackjack player on a hot streak. They've inked agreements with Mercosur, that's a group of South American countries, Mexico and Switzerland. They've even restarted talks with Malaysia and opened discussions with the UAE. It's like speed dating for trade agreements. And these aren't just any deals. They're comprehensive agreements that cover everything from reducing tariffs to promoting sustainable development. It's like they ordered the works package on their trade deal menu. These deals are important because they give the European Union access to new markets and strengthen their relationships with key partners. It's like making new friends who also happen to be excellent business contacts. Section 5. A continental shift evolving EU trade dynamics. Now let's talk about the internal dynamics within the EU. Remember those protectionist tendencies I mentioned earlier? Well, they haven't magically disappeared. Some EU members still have their reservations about free trade. They worry about job losses and unfair competition from countries with lower wages. However, Trump's tariffs have shifted the conversation. Even traditionally, protectionist countries like France are starting to see the value of open markets. The EU is learning that in a world increasingly defined by uncertainty and protectionism, free trade is not just an economic policy, it's a strategic imperative. Section 6. Navigating the Chinese puzzle. Of course, no discussion of global trade would be complete without mentioning China. The Middle Kingdom is a major player in the global economy, and its actions have a significant impact on everyone. The EU is well aware of this. They've been trying to navigate a delicate balancing act with China. On the one hand, they want to maintain strong economic ties. China is a huge market for European goods, and the EU benefits from affordable Chinese imports. On the other hand, the EU is concerned about China's unfair trade practices, such as intellectual property theft and state subsidies for Chinese companies. They're also wary of becoming too reliant on China, especially as tensions between China and the US continue to simmer. It's a tricky situation, kind of like trying to parallel park a semi-truck in a snowstorm. But the EU is determined to find a way forward that benefits everyone. Section 7. The Transatlantic Trade Tangle. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the transatlantic trade relationship. This used to be the bread and butter of global trade. The US and the EU were like the Beyoncé and Jay-Z of international commerce. But then, Trump's tariffs came along and threw a wrench in the works. It was like Beyoncé finding out Jay-Z had traded their entire music catalog for a lifetime supply of mayonnaise. Not cool, man. The EU was understandably upset by Trump's actions. They retaliated with tariffs of their own, and the relationship soured. Now, even though Trump is gone, the damage has been done. Rebuilding trust won't be easy. It's like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube after you've used it to prank your roommate. Messy, time-consuming, and probably futile. Section 8. Safeguarding the European market. While the EU is busy forging new trade alliances, they're also mindful of protecting their own. Remember how Trump's tariffs led to concerns about Chinese goods flooding the European market? Well, the EU is taking steps to address that. They're strengthening their trade defense mechanisms, which are basically like the bouncers of the European market. They're there to make sure everyone plays by the rules and that no one tries to sneak in any shady products. These mechanisms include things like anti-dumping measures, which are used to prevent countries from selling their products in Europe at unfairly low prices. It's like setting a dress code for the global trade party. No ripped jeans or bargain basement knockoffs allowed. The EU is serious about protecting its interests. They're not afraid to flex their muscles if they need to. It's like they've been hitting the gym and are ready to take on any trade bullies who come their way. Section 9. The Future of EU Trade, A New Dawn. So, what does the future hold for EU trade? Well, it's looking pretty bright. The EU is well positioned to become a global leader in free trade. They've got the experience, the connections, and the drive to make it happen. Of course, there will be challenges along the way. The global trade landscape is constantly evolving and there are always new obstacles to overcome. But the EU has shown that it's adaptable and resilient. The EU is committed to a future where trade is fair, sustainable, and beneficial for everyone. It's a future where countries work together to create a more prosperous and equitable world. And that, my friends, is a future worth striving for.